Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We're all here for the same reason. I want to thank Bob Warner again for hosting me. I was here not too long ago on some of the flood mapping issues, and Bob was kind enough to host us then. He's going to claim me as a dependent on his taxes this year. I don't blame him, but it's good to be with you all. And look, I just want to say that what a wonderful job Jim Cantwell is doing on your behalf, on behalf of the people of Marshfield and Scituate. And I have, in my district, I have the 8th Congressional District, I have 3 cities, Boston, Brockton, and Quincy, and then I have 19 towns. So there's 727,514 people. And, but who's counting? Yeah. And so, because I'm down in Washington 3 or 4, sometimes 5 days a week, I rely very heavily on my local representatives to really keep me informed and to really provide the hands-on and day-to-day contact and information that I need to make sure that I'm doing my job in a way that comports well with the people that I represent. So I rely heavily on Jim Cantwell, and I'll tell you, my trust in him is well placed. He has been absolutely tremendous on all of the issues that Marty just mentioned. You know, the seawall issue. I was redistricted into the 8th Congressional District last year, and I really didn't have any direct knowledge of the FEMA flood mapping process. It really hadn't gone into Norfolk County at that point, and but working with Jim Cantwell and working with and at times against FEMA, that was a whole learning process. But it was a seamless transition because of the work that Jim Cantwell has done over the years and then continues to do on behalf of the towns of both Marshfield and Scituate. Now, you have to remember that the state representative's position is look, I was a state representative for 14 months before I moved to the Senate. But I distinctly remember, and my aide is here, Nick Zafarakis, who's still with me. Nick was my only employee. And being the state representative, I was representing South Boston, but like Scituate and like Marshfield, the people of South Boston back then had high expectations and high demands of their state representative. So you would get all the phone calls. Yeah, I remember, the Jimmy Buffett concert sold out. I got calls on that. People were angry that some ticket agency had bought up all the tickets, and so we had to figure out how to get Jimmy Buffett tickets. And
he's setting the bar too high right now.
Yeah. I remember this woman, a senior citizen, called me, and very hard to understand on the phone, but she had her dentures made, and they were made incorrectly. And she had a blister on her gums, and her grandson was getting married on Saturday, and this was like Thursday. And of course, you call your state representative. And I remember Vic and I looking at each other like, you don't know anything about dentistry, and I don't either. We got her a free pass at the local community health center, and they buffed it down, and she was good to go. But you get all those calls. And Hank Norton is here as well, a state representative as well, a candidate for Attorney General, great guy, who has been through the wars, Iraq War veteran, also a state representative who has also received those type of phone calls, although from the people of Clinton, Massachusetts. But so the position of state representative is one that is very demanding and very personal to the people who you represent. So you will never in your life as an elected official have a more intimate relationship with the people that you represent as you do as a state representative. So, like I say, the people of Marshfield and of Scituate have very high expectations of their state representative. And in my opinion, you have chosen wisely. You have chosen extremely wisely on behalf of your communities to have Jim Cantwell represent you. So I'm at might be talking longer than Representative Cantwell, so I'm going to shut up and just say how proud I am to be a colleague of his and to be someone who works with him literally on a daily basis on a lot of these issues. I think I am a better United States Congressman because I have Jim Cantwell working with me in my district and helping me to be a better U.S. representative on your behalf. So, and I also think that politics can be tough. It can be a tough arena to work in, as you know. You're sort of in a fishbowl, and you know, you get your fair share of criticism when that comes around. That's just part of the job. That's how it is. That comes with responsibility. And so when we have someone like Jim Cantwell who is willing to step out there and work hard, Jim's not new. Jim is not new. He is a competent, experienced legislator, and that counts for something. He knows how to get things done. And that, you know, politics is one of those weird areas that sometimes we say, oh, that person hasn't been in politics, let's elect them, you know, because they have never, ever done the job and have had no contact with you know, elected office or working for people. We would never choose our brain surgeon like that in that fashion. Oh, he's never done surgery, let's hire him. So, you know, politics can be tough. So when we have someone like Jim Cantwell, and look, I want to say this, try to say it in the nicest way as I can. You don't have to light a fire under Jim Cantwell. You don't have to light a fire under his behind to get him going. He is already on fire. He is on fire for the people of Scituate. He's on fire for the people of Marshfield. He's on fire already. So you don't have to motivate him. He's out there already on his own initiative. He's a self-starter. You know, he's all in. He's all in for the people of Scituate and the people of Marshfield. So we're lucky to have him. I'm lucky to have him. How about a nice warm welcome to our man, Jim Cantwell.
And the congressman is always very, very humble, because one of the things that we'll talk about in a moment just is Steve's leadership on flood insurance and a number of other matters. The joke that you were saying for Bob Warner, this, by the way, Bob, where's Bob? You know, Bob, to have a congressman come, this congressman who's everywhere in the South Shore, but to come to your restaurant twice in just a matter of months says so much about you, by the way, and what this means for all of Scituate. So thank you so very much for hosting all of us today. I wanted to do a few thank yous first, and then to go into talking about some of the things that we all have done together to make a difference here in the South Shore. Because the congressman's right. You know, these are things that we can be from the smallest issues that might be helping people if they have a registry of motor vehicles issue. Ben Thomas here, who runs my office, knows we can help folks with those. Can be the largest issues, can be people being denied life-sustaining treatment when an insurance company says we're not paying for your cancer surgery, that we would fight and make sure that gets done, and everything in between. My wife Jennifer and Chris are here, and we often, I say, from A to Z, could be from helping children with autism to make sure that the insurance company pays for their services, to Z being maybe zoning reform. I used to tell Jen it was great every night, Congressman, I could come home with a new briefing book, and I said, honey, this is like going back to college, but without all the heavy drinking. And then we started the budget process, and I knew I'd better start drinking a few things. But it is an incredible job that you all give me the ability to do. And for some folks who made this happen today, by the way, I want to say Liz Charlton is here, who helped put things together. Where's Liz? My treasurer, who makes sure everything's perfect, my sister Maureen, with my father, my dad Jack, and my brother Kevin is here. And I was asking all of them when we were saying, coming out, that here we're all getting up early in the morning on a Saturday to come out when it's, what is it, 15 degrees out, right? And why do we do these things? 12 degrees now. But thank you for Matt McDonough, who's one of our great selectmen from Marshfield, Marty, who you all met, Marty O'Toole, Tony Vignani, for all the things that we do. Why is it that all of you are here at 9 in the morning on a Saturday? Why is it for what we all do? And it's because we know what we do together matters. We make a difference on so many issues. And it's important for us when you're here right now, we're living in a kind of a cynical age when people are saying government can't do anything that helps, whatever we're doing can be wrong. There are mistakes that are made, which we know with FEMA, but we do make a great difference. Here in Massachusetts, we are #1 in healthcare coverage for our citizens across our whole state. We're #1 in student performance. We're #1. Our bond rating, by the way, when the federal government bond rating was being reduced and people were calling into question their ability to pay bills, ours got improved to the best we've had in the history of our state, because we know, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, we knew how to get things done when we had a real crisis in government. Standard & Poor's looked at us and said, you guys are doing things right. My standard thing when people came, Mike Christopher here with his hat on, poor Chris has to go down, Jen's driving him down to be sleeping outdoors tonight, 15 degrees, he's going to be out, we're Battleship Cove, Chris, right? Chris was with me when we were here this summer, and we were doing things for Heritage Days, when people would come up, and clearly there are challenges that we're all working on, and we're going to talk about a couple of them. But every person that came up, I'd give them my card, say, call Ben, Ben's going to help, I'll be very happy to help. But I ended every conversation of saying, look, we hit the cosmic lottery to be born at this time in the world's history, to be able to live here in Scituate and Marshfield, the beautiful ocean that we have, our quality of life. I did it so many times that at the end, after like the 12th time, Chris walked up and said, okay, cosmic lottery guy. He said, Dad, you're saying that over and over. I'm like, buddy, but they're hearing it for the first time. You're hearing it for 12 different times. But I want to thank Chris and Jen for lending me to this service. So when I talked about, when people will be cynical, saying government can't do things, push back, because here are some great examples. What you all are doing right now, there's a woman on the issue of FEMA with flood maps. Doris Crary, who I don't know if she's here. Doris is just such a tremendous example of what one person 20 years ago, when FEMA was going to do this before Congressman, when they were going to rewrite maps and they were going to make changes that would have been disastrous. One woman helped lead the charge back then to make a real difference. And we both claim Doris because she lives both in Scituate and Marshfield. So it's kind of nice that she does both. But right now, that began with Doris coming to a meeting with Congressman Keating back in July and saying, these new maps came out, we all have to act, and you were right on top of this, so we want to thank you. But the way, as you know, the story was Doris coming to the Marshfield and Scituate Selectmen, saying here are the maps, and the Selectmen taking immediate action to be hiring experts to push back and to do appeals. Joe Rossi and David Ball, where's David, by the way, David and Joe? David and Ball for our Scituate Coastal Coalition and our Marshfield Coastal Coalition. So locally, the work, David, that you were doing, I was there when you gave the overview of Bigger Waters, and people said, oh my goodness, this is in the summer, and we were told we only had 90 days to act. So at the local level, the selectmen leading things with the coastal coalitions, they spoke out. Coming to my level, for once we had that information, having a hearing at the state where we proved Marshfield and Scituate, really, Scituate being the first, but we were the tip of the spear of this issue, and showing to people that if we did not take action, what the disastrous implications would be. So we got our experts together. Carol, right here, Carol Conway, Pullman. Carol came, we had a hearing, Congressman, where she testified and showed that if we did not take action, and Liz Charlton, who helps run all the campaign for me, for realtors, that if we didn't, we were looking at 30 to 40% losses in the value of people's properties. Joe Norton, who I know may be on his way, Joe Norton being one of the leaders in the banking world, saying that would trigger a whole foreclosure crisis, because if people are losing that kind of equity in their homes and receiving bills like your office has helped to combat. We had people here, right over at the lighthouse, getting bills for $62,000 a year for flood insurance. Your office, by the way, a big congratulations, because where's Jeb Banks, by the way? Jeb, you know, you lived it. It was this congressman that helped to push it back, so thank you. So that we heard from bankers that what that would do. We heard from individuals what it was doing. Bob Warner, being a business leader, saying that why would you have business investment really to try to improve your properties if you'd be told, like the Haddad's restaurant in Marshfield spent $3.3 million improving their building, going beyond what FEMA required from elevation 11, where they thought water could come, to elevation 13. All that money, they were out of the floodplain. A year later, FEMA says, we got it wrong, we're doing new maps. I'm sorry, you're going to have to spend some $20,000 a year to stay in business. So all of you should know on the FEMA thing, because you spoke out, you're giving me assistance. We had a hearing in Boston, 51 state reps and senators coming saying this is a crisis for the state, not just inland, but we have our waterways. We had people from Foxborough testifying, people from Holliston, Northampton. When we came to meet with you, Congressman, it was the Northampton Chamber of Commerce that came along, as you recall. So what you should all be very proud to know is that I heard it, we filed legislation statewide. This congressman's been leading it. You and Congressman Keating, along with Senators Warren and Markey, you've all been terrific, but you were there every step of the way. Coming to Marshfield, we had that first hearing. 2,500 people came out to say why this would be a crisis. You gave everyone hope to be there and to say that we're going to work on it. So we want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the quick update, by the way, because of the Congressman's work, we know the maps that have been promulgated, Congressman Keating and yourself working together to prove those are fallacious, and with the delegation letter you're doing to push back, hopefully those maps are going to be rescinded, and then the work on the bigger waters, Congressman, the amendment you have filed with others to try to work, we're hoping in the spring to see some action there so we can freeze the rates for people so people can afford to stay here in our wonderful towns. That's a FEMA issue, but look around you. There's so many other issues where you have all made a great difference. One I want to point to, we have Dr. Wall, who is the president of Massasoit. Dr. Wall right here, a Situate resident. You all should know that Dr. Wall being one of the leading people, we identified that here in Massachusetts there are thousands of jobs going unmet in the fields for maritime issues, with Ed Lawford as well. Ed, we got the whole board back here, right? We got our mayor board right here. Brian House, Laurie, but making sure that we were able to prove to people thousands of jobs are being unmet for kids who might not go on to a four-year college but have great skills and want to earn a great living. But for maritime sciences, for environmental sciences, wastewater treatment and the like, now studies on sea level rise and the like, we're getting very close to being able to talk of having a college come to this district where we'll be able to train these students and give them a great future, and it's because of the work of people like Charlie Wall and Brian House and the like. So thank you so very much. There are so many examples, and I know Bill Last was going to come talking about jobs that could be lost and work that's been done on issues there for infrastructure here in Situate, making sure that John Dennehy was not able to come today, but John came to me talking about how awful it was with double-digit increases that were happening, that we had for businesses for their workman's comp, and we were able to freeze those. There are so many examples, and that's what I want to be ending with, is for you all to know, you give me such a tremendous ability to make a difference because of the trust you put in me. Every day I walk into the State House, I know I have you at my back saying, Jim, keep working hard, we're going to make a difference. You've done it, and for people who I just saw walk in, like Peter Foreman, who was the president for the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, that Peter's educated me on business things. Like, Peter, come up for a second, by the way, because we've got to tell one quick thing about you as we're finishing up. But those are the things that I want you to know of. And when someone then tells you, you've looked around the room, you've heard of how people have made a difference. When someone tells you, for instance, that government's not doing anything right, we need to run government more like a business. How many of you have heard that being said before? Right? Many, many times. You have a business leader here who does it right and knows how to advocate for business interests, and I very much appreciate you coming, Peter. But as I say to people over and over, we don't run government like a business, right? Because I get it. I have a law firm, we employ 14 people, we give them great benefits, we make sure that for them to stay with us, we pay them well. But we know what it's like, that you're not always going to turn a profit for things like we do in business, right? And you can maybe cut marketing and the like. In government, we don't turn to a child who's being beaten, who needs help from DCF. We don't turn to that child and say, hey, you know what, you got to pay up before Children and Families are going to help you out. We don't turn to a senior citizen who needs services here at the Council on Aging and say, you know what, you've worked your whole life, you're paid in, but we're sorry, you're not going to get any supplemental nutritional assistance, which, by the way, about 60% of the people who get it in Situate are senior citizens. We don't turn for people who need transportation services. They don't turn a profit, but we need that. That's a lifeblood for us. Those are things, thank goodness that in my life I don't need services from the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Mental Retardation, but those services are so important to give us the great quality of life we deserve. So when people push back and say that we need to run government like a business, you say, you've met people who have made a difference around here, you've met me, you've met your congressman who does a great job, and tell them, you know that we run a great government here. We'll make our changes, we'll make an improvement, but with your help, we're going to continue to do a great job. Thank you so very much for all of you coming out. Before you leave, I want you to know we have Barry Feingold, a good friend who's running for state treasurer for the Commonwealth. You already saw Hank Norton running for Attorney General, two great friends. I'm going to make sure to stand here on the edge. I saw Rick Judge, who protects us all the time as our chief for the fire department. I'm going to stand me to the door so I can say goodbye and say thank you to you all, but thank you so very much for coming out. This means a great deal to me. I appreciate your confidence and look forward to a wonderful holiday Christmas season. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you.